Imagine being so built different that the universe itself had to pause, look at its own notes, and go, this man has more plot armor than Naruto. That was Tsutomu Yamaguchi, a man so statistically impossible to kill that scientists, historians, and probably 3 different government departments are still in a meeting about it. To this day. Meeting number 384. Nobody's going home. The whiteboard is full. Someone brought a sleeping bag. August 6th, 1945. Hiroshima, Japan. Hiroshima in 1945 was not a wasteland. It was a living, breathing city. 350,000 people. Tram lines cutting through morning streets. Cherry blossoms dropping pink petals onto the pavement. Market stalls opening for the day. School children walking to class. Fishermen on the Ota River. The kind of city where nothing dramatic was supposed to happen, because nothing ever had. Just ordinary people living ordinary lives on an ordinary Tuesday morning. Tsutomu is a 29-year-old naval engineer, not a soldier, not a shinobi, a naval engineer, the guy who draws boats for a living. He works for Mitsubishi. He draws plans for ships. He probably has a favorite pencil. This is the level of threat he poses to the universe. A man with a favorite pencil. He's in Hiroshima on a business trip, 3 weeks away from home, probably thinking about getting back to his wife, probably thinking about what he's going to eat for dinner, maybe ramen, definitely something warm, definitely not thinking, I wonder if an atomic bomb is going to drop on me today. 8:15 a.m. He's walking to work, regular Tuesday energy, lunchbox packed, documents ready, briefcase in hand, and then white light. The entire sky, just white. The United States had just dropped Little Boy, the world's first nuclear weapon ever used in war, 4,000 degrees Celsius at the epicenter. To give you a sense of what that means, iron melts at around 1,500 degrees, steel at 1,400. The surface of the sun is around 5,500. 4,000 degrees is not a temperature, it's an absence. Everything inside that radius simply stopped existing. A shockwave that flattened everything within 2 kilometers in less than 1 second. 70,000 people died instantly. Another 70,000 in the weeks that followed. Tsutomu was 3 kilometers away, which in atomic bomb terms is basically front row seats, no refund policy, no emergency exit, complimentary shockwave with every ticket. The blast blew him off his feet, burned his arms, his face, his upper body, ruptured both his eardrums, temporarily blinded him. He woke up in a ditch, covered in ash, looking at a city that no longer existed. Everything that had been Hiroshima, the tram lines, the market stalls, the school children, the fishermen, was gone. Flat. Gray. Silent. Now here's where a normal person taps out. Here's where anyone with a functioning survival instinct says, yeah, I'm done. Find a hospital. Never leave it. I don't care if there's a war on. I'm getting a bed and I'm staying in it. But Tsutomu Yamaguchi was not built like a normal person. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was built like a main character, and main characters do not stay down. He treated his wounds as best he could, got through the night, woke up the next morning, and got on a train. Home! The man got on a train, back to his hometown, his family, his regular life, as if he hadn't just been inside a nuclear explosion 12 hours earlier, as if the universe hadn't just tried to erase him from existence. Just, welp, business trip's over, believe it. He sat on that train in complete silence, briefcase on his lap, bandages on his face, staring forward with the energy of a man who has simply had a very long day. Passengers around him, one by one, quietly moved to the other end of the carriage. Which is the correct response? His hometown was Nagasaki. Let that land for a second. The man survived Hiroshima, got on a train, and went to Nagasaki, where the second atomic bomb was scheduled to drop in 3 days. God looked down at this moment, squinted, and quietly said, my bad. And then went completely silent for the rest of the story. Closed the shutter, folded his hands, stared at the wall. Not my problem anymore. Tsutomu shows up in Nagasaki, burns on his face, bandages on his arms, goes to the hospital, gets treated, and then goes back to work. The man went back to work 2 days after surviving an atomic bomb. Not took a week off, not filed a report, not called his mother. Went back to work. He showed up to the office, sat down with his supervisor, and started explaining what happened in Hiroshima. Full debrief, professional, calm, collected. Like he hadn't just walked out of the most catastrophic event in human history. This man had the emotional regulation of someone who had completed all 500 episodes of Naruto and still wasn't stressed. His boss, sitting across from him, listening to this story, looks at Tsutomu dead in the eye and says, "You're telling me one single bomb destroyed the whole city? That's impossible." And at that exact moment, that precise moment, while his boss was mid-sentence, Fat Man detonated over Nagasaki. The second atomic bomb, in 3 days, in 2 different cities, found the same man. The windows shattered, the shockwave threw them to the ground, and Tsutomu, already wrapped in bandages, already half deaf, already having survived the literal apocalypse once, hit the floor, and survived again. He later said, "I thought the mushroom cloud had followed me from Hiroshima." Followed him! Like it was a jutsu! Like the universe had learned Shadow Clone and sent a second one just for him. 2 mushroom clouds, same target. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Tsutomu walked home through the rubble of Nagasaki. For the second time in 3 days, he was walking through a city that had just been erased. For the second time in 3 days, he was alive when he had absolutely no business being alive. He found his wife and son, minor injuries. They had survived because she had heard about Hiroshima from him and taken shelter when she heard the planes. Think about what that means. This man, by surviving the first bomb, told his wife just enough to save her life in the second. His survival wasn't just about him. It never was. That's not luck anymore. That's not coincidence. That's a man whose life was written by the same person who decided Naruto would survive every single arc, no matter what, because the story wasn't finished yet. Days later, Japan surrendered. The war was over. Tsutomu was in a bomb shelter when the emperor announced it. Sick with radiation fever, hair falling out, constant vomiting. His body was shutting down from the inside. He later said, "I had no feeling about it. I thought I was about to cross to the other side." That's the 10%. The part of this story that doesn't get turned into a Naruto reference. Because this man carried both of those days, every single day, for the rest of his life. Not as a badge, not as a story he was proud of. As a weight. The faces he saw in the rubble. The ones who didn't wake up in a ditch. The ones who didn't make it to a train. He carried all of it. But here's the thing about Tsutomu Yamaguchi. He didn't disappear into trauma. He didn't hide. He made a decision. He spent the last years of his life traveling the world, standing in front of governments, universities, anyone who would listen, and saying, "Nuclear weapons should not exist." He didn't say it softly. He didn't ask politely. He had survived both bombs. He had walked through both cities after. He had seen what these weapons actually do, not on a screen, not in a briefing, with his own eyes, in his own body. When Tsutomu Yamaguchi said nuclear weapons should not exist, there was not a single person on the planet more qualified to say it. The Japanese government officially recognized him in 2009, the only person in history confirmed to have survived both bombings. 64 years later, he finally had the official piece of paper. He didn't need it, but the world needed to say it out loud. He died in 2010, at 93 years old. Not from the bombs, not from the radiation, from stomach cancer, which, after surviving 2 atomic bombs, is honestly the most disrespectful exit possible. Even Madara would have let him live at that point. Even Pain would have said, "You know what? Sit down. You've earned it." Tsutomu Yamaguchi, the man the universe tried twice and failed twice. The man who got on a train from Hiroshima to Nagasaki, and somehow, that was the normal part of his week. There is something I keep coming back to with his story. Not the survival statistics, not the impossibility of the numbers. The morning, August 6th, 1945, 8:15 a.m. He's walking to work, lunchbox packed, maybe whistling, thinking about dinner. No warning, no preparation, no sense that today was different from any other day. Just a Tuesday. And then the entire world changed. And he walked out anyway. And he got on a train. And he went home. And he lived. Not because he was extraordinary in the way we usually mean. Not because of any special skill or training. But because when the world erased itself around him, he just kept going. Both times. You wake up as someone else every week on this channel. Sometimes a soldier. Sometimes a fugitive. Today, the most indestructible man who ever lived. Just another life. Who will you wake up as next?